Now, one of the most important things to really understand is the coaching models that we have. And it's because communication with clients is really the essence of what we do. Everyone thinks it's the sets, the reps, the macros, the micronutrients. It's really communication. So if we don't have it, we don't get buy-in. If we don't have buy-in, it doesn't matter how good our plan is, we're going to fail. So there's two primary ways in which we coach, which as coaches we communicate, which is the coach-centered and the client-centered model. Now, the coach-centered model is the old school model. Dictator, old school, get it done, do what coach says. It heavily relies on the coach's authority. It's a one-way communication stream. So the coach dictates a plan, gives the instructions, and the client just follows. So it's like client is diagnosed and given a solution. You're overweight, cut the carbs, eat less, run more. Like very, very simple. Okay. Now, full fairness, if we look at the client levels, in certain times of the coach-centered model, level 3 clients really fit into the coach-centered model. And in doing that, it's a very useful model. For level 1 and 2, where the vast majority of our clients fall, it's not the best model to use. So some of the pros of it, it's quick and direct, and it also is really good for clients who want straightforward instructions, no nonsense, and they just want to get it done. Again, these are going to be your level 3 clients. Now, the cons are low adherence. So because the client has no input in the decision-making process, they don't feel any ownership, so they don't actually do anything. And then generally there's a lack of behavior change because the client doesn't have to take ownership of their actions and understand it or why they're doing anything. They just do what they have to do. So short-term results, but doesn't get long-term sustainable results for most people, okay? Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it needs to be appropriately used at the right time with the right person. And I'm going to come back and circle around when the client-centered model, which is my favorite one, doesn't work and when you can actually apply it with your level 1 and level 2 clients. So the client-centered approach is grounding the idea that the client is the expert in their own life. The coach is the guide, not the dictator. There's lots of research in teaching, counseling, and coaching that shows that leads to better long-term outcomes as it fosters and creates client autonomy and self-determination, which allows someone to actually make decisions for themselves and sit there and actually feel good about it, and they'll commit to it because they've made a commitment to themselves, not just following someone else's instructions. So it allows the client to define what to do. So it does increase accountability because the client has had input in that. It does lead to better long-term success because people start changing their behaviors. It develops a higher level of intrinsic motivation because they feel empowered to make choices and then they see the result of what they've done. And they generally get a higher level of engagement. So you can develop a higher level of trust a lot faster than doing that. So an example of this, client isn't losing weight. You then reflect with the client through their current habits, preferences, and challenges, and then explore solutions together. The client comes up with it, you agree to do that, and then you assess how it went and move on from there. So it really emphasizes self-determination, which means the clients have more control over their actions, self-efficacy, because they believe that they can start to solve their own problems, they can believe they can succeed, and then empowers them because they're the ones who are essentially responsible and invested in their own success. And as a quite an ironic situation, they trust us more and believe in our guidance more because we were the ones who guided them rather than yelled at them. But what do we expect from each approach? Coach centered, we might see short-term compliance, but adherence tends to be low and may struggle with sustainability. Client centered, a little slower to get results, but a stronger sense of ownership and much better lasting motivation and behavior change. Now, the only exception to this is besides the level 1, level 2, and level 3 clients and level 3 needing coach centered, is when the client repeatedly doesn't do the things that they said they will do in the client-centered approach, then moving into a coach-centered approach periodically can be very helpful for getting them back on track. So what I mean by that is if they're not doing the things that they need to do to achieve the results they want, despite all your stuff, you dictate for them what to do for a little bit to actually get a result. And what that does, that then gives them the feedback that, hey, what you do can work and it does work, and they'll trust you a little bit more, but then they'll be more empowered to make their decisions afterwards because they know that they've got you there to actually help support them and guide them and make sure that they're making the right decisions.